Biggest things you learned about your team in camp?
Spring practice is kind of interesting. It never looks too cohesive or, too smooth. But to me, it's more about just watching players grow. And that really started back in January when we started the winter program. It's something that's always been very important in our program, and take it really seriously. So our guys did a good job, I think, through the winter program, had spring break, and then came back, and we went through 5 weeks of practice. And it's fun to watch guys grow and, to have a good football team. Your older guys have to be growing. Maybe it's not as dramatic, the improvement and change that you see, but certainly with the younger guys, a lot of these guys, they've only had 1 or 2 years of an off season, true off season. Most of them were multi-sport athletes in high school. So to see them really kind of get into a football groove, if you will, and start to gain traction, it's always fun to watch and track. And I think the exciting part is if guys do things right, we'll see another jump between now and, kickoff of the opening game.
Yeah, and of course, we look forward to seeing you guys in preseason camp as well. Always great to be in Iowa City. The big question heading into preseason camp last year was whether or not you could take a jump forward on offense, and the answer was a resounding yes, particularly the run game. What were you most pleased with in terms of the progress that you made offensively a year ago?
Yeah, not to give you too generic of an answer, but, really over the years, if our offensive line plays good, yeah, and our quarterback plays good, then we've got a chance to maybe do some things. And, last year, I think we got part of that equation the way we wanted. The offensive line felt good about it going into the season. We're a lot more veteran and a lot healthier than we had been the previous couple of years. And that's been something we've been working through for a couple of years. And I think it came to fruition last year. Guys did a great job up front, including the tight ends. And then the other part of the equation is still the quarterback. It's more been injury related than anything else. We haven't been able to throw the ball the way we like to, but huge gains in the run category. Again, I think the line play was predictable. Maybe not as predictable as what happened in the backfield. And, we felt good about Caleb Johnson going into the season. LaShawn Williams was our leading returning rusher, and unfortunately had some injury issues he had to deal with. And Caleb took advantage of that opportunity and just did an unbelievably great job all season long. So really happy for him. And he's moved on to the NFL, and he'll do a great job there. But, that's the fun part about, I think, college football is you just never know whose time it's going to be and who's going to step up and take advantage of the opportunity. So, we feel good right now about our run game. I think that's coming together, and obviously we're trying to improve the pass game as we move on.
Well, let's focus on the attempts to improve that pass game, and you bring in Mark Gronowski, who was a fabulous player at South Dakota State, one of the best players in FCS, and now he comes to play at Iowa. I know he was out this spring as he had a surgery to repair his shoulder, so you didn't necessarily get to see him throw the football, but give us a sense of what you've seen on tape from Mark Gronowski that leads you to believe he could be a guy who helps you take a big step in that pass game.
Yeah, interestingly, we saw him live and in person in Kinnick, whatever it was, 4 years ago. He played as a true freshman, had to come in the game, and that game was certainly not representative of his career. It was a very low-scoring game on both sides. And but anyway, Mark, we've seen him plenty on tape. We're anxious to see him throw live. Haven't had that opportunity yet, but he's done just an unbelievable job. First of all, the health thing, I'll get that out of the way. He's right on track and probably ahead of track, and he'll be throwing full speed here in June, so that's good news. Everything's been very, very positive. But going back to the recruiting, we're certainly impressed with his tape, his credentials, what he had done at South Dakota State, a program we've got great respect for. And then meeting him for a day and a half, he and his dad were here, and just a super impressive young person, great dad. And, you look at his academic career and what he accomplished up at South Dakota State in a very, very tough major. And then obviously to get to know him over the last 3 months, watch him in our building. And it's really a challenge for a player when they're injured to feel like they're part of the team. That's, I think, anybody that's ever been hurt that played the game, you always feel like you're isolated a little bit. He did a great job of really, blending in with our guys, getting to know him. And, 3 months later, highly respected by everybody on our football team. And it's tough to do when you can't actually go full speed. So it's a real credit to him. He's a very mature guy. And I think all of us are really excited to see him full throttle here next August.
Well, add us to that group. We're excited as well. I know, obviously, when someone comes in as a quarterback, you want them to be able to throw the football in the preseason. I get all that. But there is such a mental component to being a quarterback, and particularly when you're coming into a new system and trying to learn the system. So he had the opportunity to do that. Again, I'm not trying to spin this into a positive, but he didn't have the distraction of worrying about throwing the football. In what ways was he able to embrace kind of really getting to understand your system in ways that perhaps helps him here down the line in the fall?
Yeah, the analogy I'd give you, it's a little bit like the NFL in my mind, at least. When you get a rookie out of college that comes to an NFL organization, there's a lot to learn in every facet. I mean, just everything is brand new. In the building, outside the building, a lot to deal with for a young person. Whereas if you get a fifth-year veteran player who's had great success, for him to go to another team is usually not that big a deal. It's like learning a new language. Typically, usually there a little bit of a transformation there when you go from one offense to another, verbiage, all those kinds of things. But that's really the challenge, and he's handled that really well. No big deal. And he happens to be an engineering major with a really high GPA.
Yeah.
One that would embarrass me certainly when I was in college. But that doesn't always translate to football knowledge or learning, and he's got the ability to do both. So yeah, we're really comfortable once he gets out there and just starts going. It's going to be a pretty seamless transition for him, and really excited about that. And then we were able to keep Tim Lester off the road this past January. So Tim spent a lot of time. They spent a lot of time one-on-one together, and that was really helpful too. So I feel really good about that. I don't see that being a big issue at all.
You mentioned Caleb Johnson, an amazing year last year, and as you said, maybe somewhat unexpected. Certainly we had seen flashes of greatness from him earlier in his career, but ended up as one of the best running backs in the country. So give us a little insight into that spot in that room this year. I mean, I know Kamari Moulton, Jazzy Patterson, both back. What do you expect from the running backs?
Yeah, the key word with Caleb is consistency. And you look back, some of the guys that we've had, a guy like Fred Russell back 2002 and 3, Sean Green, the guys that have really been, established backs, Albert Young, they've been able to do it on a week-to-week basis. And that Caleb had flashed, to your point, but last year it all came together for him. And, it was just so fun to watch him go. And he practiced the same way he played. So that's maturity. That's paying attention and just really learning on the job. And we've got a young group right now we're really excited about. You mentioned Kamari, you mentioned Jazz. TJ Washington, last year we had to use him out wide, mainly because we were thin out there and in need. So he's back in the backfield and really has good running skills. Obviously a good receiver because we had him out there last year for obvious reasons. So those three guys form a really good nucleus. Xavier Williams, Brevin Dahl, two freshmen that were with us last year have really impressed us. Xavier more so because Brevin had some injuries. But I think it's a healthy room right now. Not sure what the breakdown will be or how we're going to divide things. That'll probably work itself out in August, and certainly once the season gets going, when we see guys in live action, we'll figure that out. But both Kamari and Jazz have played significant snaps this past year, Jazz past 2 years.
Coach, with the new 12-team playoff format in college football, I mean, you guys are being mentioned as one of those teams that could challenge for that this year. To what extent, if any, does that change your mindset and your approach when you enter a season, knowing the goal is to be in that top 12?
Yeah, it really doesn't change anything. One thing I had to figure out, and there's been, countless debate prior to me coming to Michigan or back to Iowa here, and then certainly prior to, just college football in general. There's always debate about schedules, what the playoffs should look like, all that. And I know we're in a period of transition right now. My guess is it's going to continue to transition for a while. But long story short, when we shifted to the expanded playoffs, that kind of became the new standard, I guess, for a lot of people on the outside to set bars and judge all that type of thing. I remember when, playing in January Bowls was a big deal. So whatever the criteria is, it is. But our goal has been pretty consistent for quite some time. It's just to try to maximize every opportunity we can. And at the end of the year, you go back and you look and, I guess you're doing it during the year too, but certainly in the offseason, you go back and look, where do we come up short? if we did, and then what were the causes, what were the reasons, how can we improve? So the goal still is the same: is try to go out there every year and first of all understand and appreciate that every game is going to be a challenge, and really everybody starts at the same starting line in August. So every game is going to be a challenge, and we need to get ready for each and every one. It's always kind of been the way it's been here, and that's one thing I do know about a little bit is Iowa football, and it's been that way since 1981. You got to do your best to be ready, and then you got to be ready when the kickoff comes around. So if you do that, one thing that hasn't changed: the more you win, the better things are, and the more you lose, the less fun it is. So that's been a constant, and that's kind of what we look at.
Well, obviously a lot more winning than losing in your tenure. And Coach, we really appreciate your time as always. Kirk Ferentz, head coach of the Hawks. We'll see you soon, Coach.
Always good to visit. Thanks, Dave.